My boss stepson is a Kevin to end all Kevins. So just over a year ago I switched jobs and went to work for a guy Bob who is running a new, used aquarium shop. The shop was built onto his house, so as a result I've become pretty close with his family, including his 15-year-old stepson, who is the most Kevin person I've ever met. For the first couple months, I thought he was just a bit quirky and clumsy, but as I've come to know him more, I've discovered that he is a Kevin of the highest order. Now, I've known some dumb teenagers in my time. Hell, I used to be one, but this kid is just on another level. Just in the year that I've known him, he licked a lit match because he thought fire would taste like a flamin' hot Cheeto. He cannot climb a flight of stairs without tripping up them. This is a multiple times a day occurrence. He once dropped a bowl of cereal and milk, and rather than clean the mess with a towel, he soaked up the spill with his sock. A sock that was still on his foot. He then put on his shoes, went out to catch the bus, and went to school with a soaking wet milk sock. He went to the school nurse that day because he was convinced that his foot was bleeding and soaking through his sock. He wants to be the first pro-Trump rapper and is currently pissed off at Kanye for stealing his idea. He's failing gym class. I have no idea how one fails gym class. He has broken more than 20 aquariums in the last year. When we buy used tanks, they need washed and leak tested before we resell them. Kevin sometimes does this to help out, but can't understand that when you wrap the hose around an aquarium, you can't just yank it free. For reference, I've been in the aquarium hobby for 12 years and I've broken 2. He's not allowed to clean tanks anymore. Bob was selling an older, fairly good condition Cadillac that had been sitting in his driveway for a while. The day before the bear came to pick it up, Kevin was mowing the yard and scraped the handle of the mower along the entire length of one side of the car. He likes to use Jew as an insult. When I called him out on it, I discovered that he thought that Jewish people didn't actually exist. He thought that they were an imaginary race of people that everyone pretended to hate. He played lacrosse on his school's team this summer and got benched all season because he told the coach that he didn't need to run laps or go to practice. This is probably why he's failing gym class. He left in the morning like normal to go catch the bus. 3 hours later, he came back saying that he missed the bus and he needed to be driven to school. The problem? It was Labor Day. There was no school. He stood at the bus stop for 3 hours on a day when there was no school. He eats absolutely everything in sight. If you leave food unattended for more than 10 seconds, it's gone. Bob went to Taco Bell and got food for the 4 of us. Kevin was left alone with it and ate his, mine, Bob's, and half of his mom's food before he realized that it probably wasn't all for him. When he found out that I'm a chill-ahead, he bragged for a week about how he loved super spicy food too. He then tried a glob of my Xoresco after I warned him repeatedly not to and spent the next 2 hours crying and blaming me. We've been gradually remodeling the house when we're not working in the store. Kevin's bedroom was the first room we finished. He managed to put a hole in the wall on the first day he moved in. One day, completely out of the blue, he asked me, I know girls don't have a penis, but is there just like a hole beneath their belly button where a penis would be? Bob told Kevin to wash the truck one day earlier this year. Kevin thought he'd be helpful and wash out the fuel tank as well. With water, his school lets him rent a tablet for school work. He got it taken away within a week because he was using it for porn. I assume he wanted to find out if girls had a hole where a penis should be. His parents signed him up for tutoring to help with his grades. Turns out, all the tutoring in the world won't help your grades if you never turn in your homework. He was under the impression that homework was optional. Also, he routinely falls asleep in class. He thought that fish were just very active plants. Yes, really. He managed to tip over and dump the contents of the trash can. He was taking it out to the roadside to be picked up. Rather than pick up the mess, he just kicked it around and spread it out across the yard in hopes that it would be less noticeable if the mess was less concentrated. I know there's more I'm forgetting, and I'll edit this post as I remember them, or as Kevin gives me more material. I'll just leave you with this tidbit. Kevin starts driving in 3 months. May the gods have mercy on us all. Edit number 1. To everyone wondering if Kevin has some kind of undiagnosed mental health issues, I suppose it's possible, but it seems more like just a severe lack of common sense than anything else. I've never met his biological dad, but from what I've learned from his mom, he's one of those people who is habitually unemployed, yet spends all day bitching about how immigrants and minorities are a drain on society. I'm hoping Kevin will eventually grow out of his Kevin-ness and not follow in his dad's footsteps. Edit number to November 10, 2018. A couple more. One just happened this week, the other apparently happened a couple months ago, and Bob just told me about it. Kevin decided he was going to practice his blacksmithing by removing the leaf catcher bag from the lawnmower and bending the shit out of the metal frame. He then realized after the fact that he was probably going to get in trouble for ruining the leaf catcher, so he decided to burn the bag and throw the frame in the trash. Bob found out, of course, and Kevin has spent the last week complaining about how tedious it is to manually rake the leaves out of the yard. Kevin discovered that you can take things apart with a screwdriver and decided to disassemble the blender with his newfound knowledge. He took the entire thing apart and had no idea how to put it back together again, so he left the pieces all over the counter. When his parents asked him why he did it, he first denied that it was him, and then claimed that the blender just randomly fell apart for no reason. Edit number 3, April 12, 2019. Since this is getting a bit of attention today, here's an update on how Kevin's 2019 has been so far. Kevin has not started driving yet, and he likely won't for at least another year. Bob bought him an old Jeep that needed repairs before it was drivable, and Kevin managed to knock one of the side mirrors off with his bicycle. I have no idea how. Kevin has decided to start writing a fantasy novel, and in a moment of weakness, I volunteered to be his beta reader. He then told me that it's going to be an erotic orc fiction with swords. He was making a grilled cheese sandwich and decided to experiment and put peanut butter on it. He burned the peanut butter, set off the smoke alarm, ate half of it, gagged, threw it in the trash, then dug it out of the trash and ate the rest. He isn't allowed to have a cell phone because he is still failing a number of classes and he is too easily distracted by technology. So he's been going to Walmart and buying the cheapest phone they have and hiding it from his parents. The problem is that he hides it in his pocket and doesn't know how to silence ringtones. He's had at least 3 phones taken away from him. He got a blunt from one of his friends at school, smoked it, and then told his parents that the smell was his new cologne.